Hi, my name's Jill Curry and I'm an occupational therapist in the Children and Young People Service here in NHS Lanarkshire. Today's video is going to be on different feeding positions for your baby.
Using a bouncy chair is a nice way for a baby early on to be in a sitting position. They will enjoy sitting up and seeing their environment. Make sure your baby is fully supported so that they sit in the middle. The more adjustments you have to the bouncy chair, the better. It's good if you have different recline positions and a 5-point harness. The bouncy chair can also be used in the early days of weaning if you're too small for a high chair. You just must ensure that they're in a good, well-supported position in the middle, and that way you can start just early spoon feeding for baby.
So we're going to look at bouncy chairs. This is something that you can use as an early position if you're going to think about weaning your baby, but obviously it's also used when your baby is awake as an alternative position from them lying on their back on their play mat. So what do you want to look for in a bouncy chair? The one thing we do want is a bit of seat depth, a bit like your car seat that's bucketed. We don't want this part flat. And the reason for that is we want baby's legs and hips flexed. This will keep them in a sitting position. So we need the seat depth. Some bouncy chairs have adjustable reclinement, so the back can go at different angles. This one is fixed, but it is quite a handy thing to have if you can adjust. The more adjustments, the better. So this again has quite a nice support here, and we'll strap that in. I have noticed some bouncy chairs do have a 5-point harness, which is obviously good and good in terms of your baby getting bigger. So as you can see, baby has quite a lot of space. Some of them do have some nice padded inserts, but what can happen with this is one, your baby will slide forward, can slide to one side. If we're going to use the bouncy chair for weaning, so we're thinking about early feeding, this is obviously not a position you want your baby to be in. They'll be struggling to try and control their body, and you're going to try and bring a spoon towards them. So where we want baby is in the middle in an upright position. And this is where sometimes, because of the size of a baby, is you maybe just have to use a rolled up towel or blanket. You just need to get the size right. And what we do, we put it underneath baby here. It again helps to tuck these legs up, keep that flex position, and it can also give the trunk support and the head if need be. So where we've got baby now is in the middle. Some of them have a toy bar with hanging toys, and baby again can swipe and reach for these. As I say, they're in a nice midline position for you to be in front of them for chatting or speaking to them. And if you are going to bring a spoon towards the mouth, then their whole body is in a middle position. So this is good sometimes if you just need to do that. You can use a roll or a towel at each side, but putting it underneath the legs when they're very wee can be helpful. Being able to rock or bounce the chair is more about if your baby was upset and you're maybe giving it a little rock just to settle baby down. But this is not designed that we want babies themselves to be bouncing in it. It's just a nice early sitting position for baby to be looking about. If baby has a particular head preference to one side, what you can do is position the bouncy chair and come and speak to them from this side, and they'll turn to look for you. That's if they're just sitting and playing. So it is a useful piece of equipment, as I say, can be used for play and for early feeding.
Using a high chair. High chairs are mainly used for feeding, but can be a nice position for messy play and just playing with toys on the tray. High chairs are designed for babies from approximately 6 months of age, but obviously it depends on the size of your baby. The more adjustment the high chair has, the better. What you're looking for is a 5-point harness, a pommel, recline positions, a foot plate, and a tray, especially that can be moved in towards the baby. Make sure your baby is well supported in an upright position in the middle and that they can reach the tray. Sometimes you may need to use rolled up blankets or towels, one to bring the baby's height up so that they can reach the tray, or at either side of baby just to give them support so that their body stays in the middle.
So we're going to look at high chairs, which obviously are designed for babies to be feeding, but it can also be a nice sitting position for a baby to play. Sometimes if the only time a baby's in the high chair is for feeding, then they get used to that. So it can be quite nice maybe after a meal just to leave baby in high chair and let them play. So looking at what you need, again, the more adjustments, like with a bouncy chair, the more adjustments you have with the high chair, the better. I'll just point out a couple of things that we do want. You want a high back to support baby. You also want a foot plate. A pommel is ideal, and if you can adjust the tray so that it comes closer to the baby, that is also better. Sometimes you get them fixed in a reclined position, the tray can be quite far away and the baby can't actually reach the tray. This high chair does have two reclined positions. This is the back, further back, and then we can bring it up into an upright position. Obviously, you want your baby to be in a nice position with their head up, and hopefully they can cope in this position. This has a 5-point harness, which is again always what you're looking for, rather than just the pelvic support. As I say, the pommel can be very handy, and this is when your baby goes in. You put the straps on, and then from here the tray can go on. And that one. So what we'll see if we look at this is when we put the tray on, the baby is very, very low down. They're not going to be able to reach up onto the tray, which is where we want their hands to be. So I'm going to put in a couple of wee things that you can do to support and get baby in a better position. Again, your baby to start with, usually you use a high chair from 6 months, so your baby's still quite small. So if, like this baby would particular, could end up sliding forward, be off to the side, and that's very difficult for them then to be feeding, either finger feeding or if you're helping to feed them. It really is better if they're in a nice supported position, and then they can concentrate on the eating part. So where we want baby is here. Obviously these straps, I've tightened them as much as I can, but to bring baby up in height so that their hands do reach the tray, we can just use a wee folded towel, and that brings them up higher. Because we want some support in at their sides, there is some support here on the high chair, but again, just get an ordinary hand towel, and I would always put a wee towel in at each side of baby, because as you can see, if you put it at one side, it's pushing baby over. But we do want them to feel supported, so I'm going to put one in at the other side. Obviously, the size of the towel, you can make it as thick or as thin as it needs to be, and you can adjust that as your baby grows. So that looks a lot more supportive. Their body's in midline, their head's in midline, and we'll put the tray on. And now you can see you've got a better chance for your baby to be reaching to play onto the tray. You can, as I say, obviously your baby might be finger feeding, you might be feeding them from the bowl. And the other nice thing to do is let them have some messy play. If you do things like whether it's cooked pasta that they're having, or even some yogurt, and just let them have it on the tray to play. Obviously if it's something like a foodstuff, it means that if baby then plays with it and takes their hands to their mouth, it's safe that they're putting it in their mouth. But it's a nice sensory experience for play. You can obviously also get toys. You can get suction toys that go onto a tray that baby can play with, or you can have a wee bit or whatever. But it is quite nice to let them have time in a sitting position and playing. So the high chairs that I would avoid don't have enough support, don't have a foot plate. I know my baby's got a bit of growing to do, but it's better that they have a foot plate, and it's better, even some of them are slightly winged, which is better. And as I say, a bit of recline. But most importantly is that you're not going to have a big gap where the tray's there, and if baby's lower down, there's no way they can reach the tray.